Alrighty, welcome back for the least optimized playthrough of Borderlands 2 that you will ever see on YouTube or elsewhere. Rumble as well. If you're on Rumble, you are also seeing the least optimized version of it. There aren't as many Borderlands 2 videos in Rumble, but even on YouTube, where there is a plethora of them, this is the least optimized you will see. We are running the Gunzerker, who is, if you don't know, our special is that we can dual wield. So you typically want to be using shotguns and maybe even SMGs. Pretty much anything except for, I would argue, in this game, like in Borderlands 1, I think dual wielding pistols would have been OP. But in this game, I would say pistols or sniper rifle, probably not what you want to be using when you're gunzerking. And yet we are using that exact thing. And we are also using the Bee shield, which allows us to shoot amp shots as long as our shield is charged. Right now, as you can see, it is right here. Whoa, you can kind of see. I'm trying to stay out of the way as much as possible in these games. But when the shield is flickering like that, it means it is not charged. It means that it is depleted, so we're not getting any effect whatsoever from the Bee. When it is fully charged, it is giving us a fraction of what other shields give us in terms of volume, in terms of protection. See, right now we're at 488. Even a Bee shield at our level, which I think this shield is probably like, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 levels old at this point. Even if it was at our actual level, it would still be probably about a third or less of what an actual shield would give us in terms of size. Because it does give us the ability to shoot amplified shots as long as that shield is stable. Hello. Yoicks, says I. So yeah, so it makes the game pretty fun because it pretty much almost any weapon you can have, as long as it's not super understated or super old, it makes almost any weapon you have infinitely better. And as you can see, I think we've got the Sandhawk, which, for those who don't know, that's a SMG that you get by completing one of the quests in Captain Scarlet and her Pirate's Booty, which is the expansion, the DLC that we're on right now. And you can get a bunch of other prefixes or additions to it. We got the most bland version. I don't even know what the actual special is. But the cool thing about it is it shoots these waves that kind of look like a hawk or a bird has the wings out of shots. Every single one of those shots. And that's what also makes the Unkempt Herald such a devastating weapon by itself even. And same with the Sandhawk. But what makes them great with the Bee shield is every single one of those pellets or those shots have the amplified damage. It's not like it does one big amplified thing for everything. It's every single one of those has that multiplier on it. So it can do a lot of damage really, really hard. Although I don't know if you were to say, I may be the same thing. If you say, well, we have 10 bullets that are getting amplified 10 times each, and each bullet is worth 1 point, then you end up with 100. We are thrilled that you found Roscoe. Of course, she is going to be our ally in this fight now. Yeah, you see the effect there? It's a really cool effect. It's pretty nifty. But you see what it's doing? You hear that noise? That is our Bee just kicking the crap out of Roscoe. And he hasn't had a chance to hit us yet. Look at that. Just. Yep. Okay, that's funny, except for the fact that that's exactly what we're told. We are told by people who steal that stealing is wrong. Don't do what I do, they say, because they don't want you to steal from them what they stole from you. Hey, I stole your thing, so now it belongs to me. By virtue of ownership, I now own that thing. Hey, I'm against stealing. Stealing is bad. I may have done it, but if you do it, then you're no better than I am. Wait a minute, guys. Come on, wait a minute. Can we please get a little consistency here? Anyway, it's funny because we're pirates, or she's a pirate and we're mercenaries. So that whole concept is laughable. But yeah, we just totally. I had a feeling we would. I think I've struggled with Roscoe. I've never really had a problem. I don't remember having to do it multiple times. The big problem is the Leviathan. That's the baddie that you have a big problem with, no matter what gun you're packing. Or at least me, I had that problem. Roscoe was never that hard, but I don't think I've ever finished him that quickly. But you just saw the effect. But you know what I'm saying? Like what I was getting to earlier with the math. If you say, okay, right now you're shooting 10 shots and each shot does 1 damage. If you say, okay, so that's 10 total damage. So if I multiply that by a factor of 10, that's 100, right? 10 times 10 is 100. But if you say, okay, we're going to multiply every shot by 10, that's still 10 shots. I don't know. I'm sure the math works out. Oh, I love that sound. I don't know why. I just love that sound. Just that amplified. We're just totally... And see, we're doing what we can as much as we can, as quick as we can, because again, once our shield starts to, once our shield just, even if it's just, oh, there we go. Now we no longer have the amplified damage, and because the shield is so petite and tiny, we just took a lot of damage in one fell swoop. So it really makes us, as I've said many times, the glass cannon, capable of mighty powerful attacks, but as soon as we take a hit, we are falling apart. And Leviathan isn't even all that hard in general. It's at the very end when you have to hit the mouth. I think I forgot that when I was playing this. Like we're getting all that. There we go. There's that fastball doing good work there. We should save it. We should save it for the mouth. That is much harder to do. But I've actually had gotten a soft block in a way against the Leviathan where it never shows, because you get to a point where the only target left is inside the mouth and it just never shows it. And there may be ways that I'm missing to make it, to coerce it to do that, but it would just sit there like it's doing now, but it had no eyes. It would just be sitting there and it wouldn't do that. It would just sit there and do nothing. And you're like, it would just kind of look, do one of these things, and then little worms would pop out. And eventually I just had to reset, which really sucks because it's not the fastest of fights. And the music has stopped. If you noticed, that's not you. Do not try to adjust your sets. You're not missing the music. The music just kind of stopped. And I'll be honest, I feel like it's happened so many times that I can't recall if that's a glitch or if that's actually just. There's no. It's just it's supposed to be the chilling ambiance of the setting. But yeah, what you're not seeing is that there's a ton of stuff that's popping up around here that we need to be contending with, that I have not been for some reason, or not had to. But ammo is always an issue. We've made good progress. But yeah, now I think we're at the place now where it really is just the inside of the mouth area, and we're trying to just stay alive. And the thing is, you don't want to necessarily. No, we still got the eye. We still got the eye, but we want to get that as well. The problem is you want to keep those other little guys alive in case you go down. You want to have something to kill as a revival option, but you don't want to have too many of them alive where they're just doing what they're doing now and just moitering this. See, I'm just waiting for him to open your stupid mouth. Open your mouth, you big dumb animal. I mean, granted, it actually is pretty smart for him not to open it. But, I mean, just go away then. He's not going to go away. So here we are, doing just to stay alive. And so that's the thing. He's just sitting there. Okay, I'm just going to sit here. You shot up my eyes and my heart. Which, that is pretty rough. I'm not going to lie. That's hard for the big lug. I apologize in advance. I'm doing this now just because it makes life easier. I'm actually recording live. The gameplay is not live, but the record, like me being in the video with it, is something new. It's almost like streaming, but recording instead of streaming, and it just makes it easier because I don't have to go in and line up because there's 3 different videos essentially. There's the audio that I pull from OBS, there is the video that I pull from the camera, and there is the gameplay that you're watching here that I have as its own file. And so typically, I have to get the card out of the camera. It's usually the file, because the file is pretty damn big there. It's even without it being 4K. This isn't I'm not 4K right now. I'm 1080, I believe. The camera. When the card is still usually 20 to 30 gigs worth, and it still takes like 18 minutes, 15 to 18 minutes to transfer the files onto the computer. So I gotta wait for that to happen. Then I gotta get them on the timeline, line up the audio with the video, which isn't that hard. You just synchronize it. But then you gotta sync up the place in the video where you start it with where the actual game footage starts, and then render it out, and then compress it, and then you're done. It's a lot of work, is my point. Whereas this way, which the chroma key, the green screen cropping isn't as good. Like my shirt is actually like a bright yellow, like construction worker yellow. But yeah, this whole time we've been sitting at this amount of health this whole time because we're waiting for this schmuck to open his gosh darn mouth. Whereas me, you can't get me to close it. Hey-o! Yeah, now I'm having to look for weapons that have, like, we're running out of ammo here. And trying to find the weapons that do the most with the ammo we have. So that was dumb because I used it and then I was like, wait a minute, this is an SMG. If I'm going to use an SMG, I might as well use the Sandhawk. Now, yeah, we do. One of the good things about Gunzerking is you get a boost of life back, and then you start recharging ammo. There we go. Finally got the mouth open. I just had to bore it to death apparently. And now it's back. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Now it's just. So I don't know if it was just hung up and like glitchy for a second, but I feel like, and maybe that's part of it. Maybe the whole thing is you got to, in order to survive the boss fight, you have to beat the little. You got to survive against these little critters. So here we're in a place where if we didn't have one of them, our fight's over, and it's just a long fight. It's not the longest fight in Borderlands by far. Even yeah, just in general. Like I mean, the warrior, not the warrior, yes, but the bad guy, the Vault. The Vault Guardian from Borderlands 1 is a lot harder than this, so I'm not trying to make it sound like it's some great thing, but it just is weird without the music. Gotta say that now. So anyway, this is so the key isn't as clean, and the mix may not be perfect. I try to make sure the audio is about right with the video. So you can hear me, and you can also hear the game.
The lost treasure of the sands is yours, my friend. They were amazing, weren't they, Lionel?
Take, collecting.
I agree.
And now the music is playing. See, I think it had to be a glitch. There's something wrong with this monster. There's something wrong with this part of the game. But I feel like that's happened a lot. I don't know. Oh, what was I saying? Something amazing, something mind-blowing. Oh, yeah, just the. So there are some compromises, and there's not a nice easy fade in or out. So all I'm saying is, I've learned the hard way. I know roughly where this is about to stop, but I don't know the exact moment. So we're gonna get to a point, and I'll probably just say goodbye, and we'll get the last bit of the game, and it'll turn off. Because otherwise, I have to go in and do an edit, and that kind of defeats the entire purpose of what we're doing here. So it makes it so much easier than doing the live. Like if I'm doing a video, I want to be doing. I'm trying to get myself to start writing again and write a. Honestly, I don't know what I'm doing here. I think I totally forgot what I'm supposed to be doing. I know there's a vault that I'm headed for, but I don't know how to get there. I think I end up making a really stupid decision here, if I recall correctly. Oh, no, maybe it's not this. Okay. No, okay. I didn't. Maybe it's when I come out. One of the times I beat this and I jumped off a cliff or fell off a cliff or something.
Hunters defeated the treacherous Captain Scarlet and slew the Leviathan. And as
so this, I know this is like an hour and 12 minutes, so we got about an hour left. Might have been able to finish it on the last video, but I didn't realize how close I was or how awesome I was going to be. The fact that I got all through this without losing a life pretty much is nothing short of amazing.
But otherwise, you ended that story pretty well for a dirty little orphan.
Thanks.
Ah, don't mention it. I gotta teach somebody to tell these stories when I'm gone. Might as well be you.
Yeah. I love you, Marcus.
That's weird.
And the other thing I do remember about this is the unspectacularness of the drops. There's not. I don't think I've ever gotten a single legendary here. I mean, I haven't beat it all that much. I probably beat it maybe about 6 or 7 times total. And you never get a legendary. I've never gotten a legendary. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying it's not a. I don't think it has as high a percentage as some other baddies. And there's a lot of stuff. There's more stuff than you can carry away, but it's a lot of rares and epics and miscellaneous. Now watch, I'll have totally forgotten there's actually a legendary in here. I don't think so. Marcus's Mercenary Day shop. If you're playing Borderlands 2, and you get the version that has all the stuff to it, get to level like 14 or 15. Oh no, wait, 9. I think you can go in as early as 9. Get you a good weapon. Get in there as early as 9, and get to Marcus's Mercenary Day shop, and you can get some really good stuff. And you'll level up pretty quick too. The first 3 or 4 times you go through, or the first, I'd say about an hour, depending on what time you go in, or like what level you're at when you go in, it might be very grueling. But you're getting a lot of XP for all the kills you do get. And it kind of adds, artificially adding a level of difficulty to the game when you tackle stuff that's not, you don't want to get the skull, like the crossbones, it's going, you're never going to win, like you shoot it and nothing happens. But you know, if you're shooting the bullymogs, the Arctic bullymogs, or whatever they're called, and you're only doing a little bit of damage, if you have a strong enough gun that you can keep doing that, like if you get a legendary, there's a, I can't remember what it's type, but it's one of those ones that shoots like the grenades. Typically not a great gun, but there's a legendary version of it that you can get at like level 4 or 5. I think it's one of the random drops from, what's his name? Can't remember the guy's name now. Knuckle Dragger. There's a, I think it's called the Hornet, which is a legendary corrosive pistol, or you can get this, I think it's considered a light machine gun, but it shoots out these like grenade type things, but they're freaking amazing in the first few levels of the game. Like I think I took that thing up to like 10 or 11 easy. Got it at level 3, took it up to 10 or 11. The problem with it is, the bummer, it's like one of those guns you want to keep because like, oh my gosh, it's early legendary, but there's no way to give it to any other your other characters. And it's underpowered as soon as you get to a certain point. It's no longer legendary. It's doing less damage than a normal, an epic or even a common gun at that point. So like, but I always thought, man, if I get a legendary early, I got it made. I can just always give it to whatever character I'm going to be playing with. But there's no way to make that transfer because you have to unless I'm missing something or unless I forgot something, you have to get to legendary. Or get to Sanctuary and unlock the stash by you talk to Claptrap and you unlock the stash, your access to the stash. That's the only way I know of to trade amongst characters. And so if you have a legendary, but in order to get to that far in the game, you end up at like level 7, I think at the very least is the lowest I've been able to get in there at, and actually, not just get slaughtered every time you try to take a step. So this is just a little inventory. I'm just trying to keep the weapons that either A, are good enough to replace what I have, or B, cost the most and I can get the most for them when I turn them in. Just trying to get that sweet loot. I mean, it's a pirate thing. I'm looting it for the booty. I did it all for the booty. Hey, the booty. I'll admit I was a little disappointed. One of my many disappointments with Borderlands 3 was it didn't look like they did anything more with Captain Scarlet. Like, even if it's like, oh, she didn't have her own DLC anymore, but just like do something with the character. Like be able to interact, like have like a revenge quest against her or something where it's like, okay, she did whatever. And then, you could have it take some twists and turns. She could be a side thing, but same thing with Torg. Well, Torg was never a bad guy. He was just misunderstood. But like how they did they brought Tiki Baha back in this game from the first one. Granted, he's dead, but But I mean, they really milked the heck out of him. They, you know, he comes back he comes back dead in this game. Like when you visit Firestone, you find him hung by Jack's minions, I believe it is. And so he has a passive role, quite like the ultimate passive role in the game, where he's not doing anything. But then they bring him back for the Halloween deal, and he's a zombie. You know, he's been brought back, and he's giving you quests as a zombie. So things like that help tie the games together and kind of wrap things up. I mean, I think it's smart. Hey, we don't, there's no need to kill her off. You don't have to fight her. You fight this Roscoe thing, and she disappears, and then you know, maybe, yeah, I don't know. It's and then you could even do some naughty nonsense where you have something like you have to have a save file that has her gun in it in order to unlock her quest, or in order to beat her. Maybe her shield, that's the only weapon that her shield can't handle, or so, you know, she finds this legendary shield that we can actually get off of her corpse, which would be awesome. But it's this legendary shield that really can only be damaged by certain firepower. And of course, the big bad or you know, bosses would have to have it. Otherwise, it would just be a boring game. But in order to have that, in order to penetrate it, you have to use her pistol. But in order to get her pistol, you have to have a save file from Borderlands 2 or something. I mean, I probably wouldn't go that route just because you don't want to create barriers of entry for a game like that, and unless you're running it on Steam or something where it can access your save files, I don't think that's terribly helpful. Because like on a Switch, or I played this on Steam, so yeah. But like if you played it on Switch, how is it gonna access files from? I guess it keeps save files on there. I don't think it stores it on the cartridge. Maybe it does, but they don't have a. No, I think the Switch stores it. That wouldn't make any sense. Like there's no battery with the cartridges. They're so tiny. They just have the information on it. Okay, so admittedly, I'm a little perplexed. Oh, that's right. I was just trying to get out of here. I was trying to get back to the main game. And I'm like, wait, I have to fight him in order to get back there. How do I get to the main game? Like, this is weird. Where's the exit? And honestly, I don't remember what I did. I don't think I fight him again. I think I'm like, well, I'm here. I'll grab some ammo. But where am I supposed to go? Like, it's over. But I can't fast travel anywhere. Like, where do I go? How? Yeah, because this is where we fought Roscoe. So I think I screwed. So I think we actually might fight it again. I think we were supposed to, somewhere after the vault, we're supposed to yeet ourselves out of there. But that just doesn't make sense. Like, if you don't leave, if you exit the game before you escape the game, like, because I don't think any other place in the game does that. I think you beat the bad guy, and if you quit and you come back, it just puts you back in Sanctuary or something. You know, it's just very weird to me. So yeah, so I remembered, I just didn't remember correctly. It wasn't that I fell off a cliff or something, we had to fight him again. I remember having to fight him again, but it was because for some reason I missed the exit and I didn't get out before I saved. I didn't get out before I saved, so I'm stuck fighting this guy again. At least I think that's the case. I might have found a way out, but I don't know. Oh no! Don't do it, me. Yeah, I was gonna say the whole thing. I could have sworn once I switched over and committed to the Bee, I decided I was gonna stick with it. And we are. This is episode 18 out of 25, I think. So 7 episodes left of this monumental playthrough. But there might be. He's really, really big. Yes, he's really, really big. Oh, but okay, yeah. You see, he's already. That's the thing I didn't notice. He's dead. Like you don't have to fight him again. It's just. But was it? I can't remember if that happened when we came back, or if it was glitched or something, or what. But yeah, that's. So this whole thing was a big anticlimactic problem. It wasn't really truly a problem. It was me misunderstanding what was going on and what the game was requiring of me. Because I know you can farm him, but I think you have to. I think the problem is you have to turn it in, or not the problem, but the solution is you turn it in for. If I turn it in and then we were back in the situation, he would be alive and we have to fight him again. But until you turn it in, but yeah, Me's going. I'm going. Where am I supposed to go right now? This is weird. And I guarantee you, if I were to look it up online, kind of talking what we were going. Wait, did we talk about this in this video? I just did a Mario RPG playthrough. I'm trying to remember if I said that then. No, okay, I was talking about Mario RPG. The idea that if you, in today's day and age, if you have a problem or a quandary that you're in, that you cannot find anybody else with that problem on the internet, it's a very, very bizarre and terrifying feeling. Because unlike in 1997, if you had a problem, you couldn't Google it because Google didn't exist back then, at least as to my understanding. I think you had Yahoo. You had Dogpile came on later. Alta Vista, I think, was one. Go 2 or something. It was like a green and yellow browser. And Alta Vista, I remember that one, or Alta Vista. That was another one. Anyway, you had some browsers, but they were just starting out. They weren't as comprehensive as Google, or even Yahoo. I think Yahoo came a little bit later. But there was the inverse. You know, you were very, very unlikely to find people talking about everything and anything on the internet. It was still, big, broad topics typically that you're going to find there. And here we are getting stuck. This was ridiculous. It was a ridiculous session, as you can see. We just couldn't get out of the freaking Leviathan's lair. We earned our victory, and yet we got stuck coming after this guy, or coming back to this little lair, or having to wander around aimlessly in here. But anyway, yeah, there used to be a time where it was wasn't very likely you'd find what you were looking for on the internet. And now, if you can't find a Reddit post or anybody talking about your problem or something that you're wondering about, you gotta. Okay, wait a minute. Am I in a Twilight Zone here? Why is nobody thinking of this? So the same thing. I would imagine. I don't know because I don't think I tried, but I would imagine if I typed in Borderlands 2, Captain Scarlet, Pirate's Booty, beat Leviathan, where do I go, or something like that, there probably wouldn't be anybody saying that because it's not a problem that anybody's encountered. It's not like enigmatic or anything. It's not a thing. Like, nobody's having a hard time. See? I mean, it's very, very simple. Oh, you take a right here, you go inside, bada bing, bada boom, you're done. But that would have told me, okay, I'm missing something very easy if you look for an answer, if you're stumped, there we go, right up to the right there. Where am I going? Yeah, there you go. If you're looking for an answer, and it seems to be the most complicated, convoluted thing ever, you're like, well, I don't understand this, and you can't find the answer on the internet, chances are it's really, 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 really simple. And you just got to figure it out but it's been so long. It happened to me with, I think, Mario RPG. It was a certain place I was having a problem, and there was an invisible block that I think you would normally accidentally hit. In fact, I was watching some guy do a playthrough, and he did. He had the same problem I did for about 30 seconds, and like the third time we tried to climb up, he accidentally hit the block. It was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm like, I did that for like 10 minutes before I hit that block by accident. But it's a very lonely and frustrating feeling when you can't find the answer you're looking for, especially if you get it in your head. Like, if I was going to play like Super Metroid, for example, I know for a fact that without hours of frustration, I would have to consult a walkthrough at many points in that game. Not like, oh, how do I beat the boss necessarily, but like, okay, where do I go now? Or how do I unlock the Vario suit because otherwise I can't move into the game.
Are we doing a staring contest? I will win. I am super good at staring.
I bet you are,
I
Shade.
have pressing news. A Hyperion engineer has gone mad with power out in the desert. Perhaps the alien thingies of this planet have reverted.
Would be fun to try.
No, I have a plan. shoot him many times with bullets, and he will die. Be careful, though. He is very powerful.
Yeah.
You may need to bring some friends as backup.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. I think I was contemplating it. I was like, I thought I remember it being really, really difficult. And without friends, it's not even so much like you just need the extra firepower, although that does help. The fact that friends can revive you is kind of the biggest deal.
Lighthouse a few years before he died. His notes say that if you take
The last thing you want to do, or the last thing you want to have happen when you're up against one of those boss raids, is to actually get it down to like half health, 3/4 health, goodness gracious, 1/8 health or something ridiculous like that, where you're like, victory is in reach, and then you go down and there's no minions, or it's one of those times that we've seen in this game where you've already kind of gone down a few times already, so the next time you go for fight for your life, you've got like 4 seconds, or not 4 seconds, 3 seconds or 2 seconds, and it's like, no, like you're shooting and all you have to do is get one more shot in, and then you can revive, and then you can finish the game, or you can finish the fight, but you can't. It's just very frustrating. So I just try to avoid that frustration by not fighting him, because I've done it. I've tried it before. I've done there is one I did, Terramorphous, I think. Yeah, Terramorphous is the big thresher, giant thresher you fight, and I can't remember what part of the game it's in. I remember it being like almost like in my mind it's like a suspended island. It's in the sky, because I remember you could fall off the edge. And it was kind of like an isolated thing. Anyway, that one I did grind it out for like 30 minutes and was able to beat it, and was very underwhelmed by what I got from it. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to bother with this again. But I do remember doing it that one time. But every other one of the bosses, the raid bosses, I've just gotten. I mean, I can get some progress on them, but I don't know that I've even got them down to half health, because they're very robust. They're meant to be. They're meant to give a challenge to multiple players at the same time, not just one lone wolf daring to rise above it all and yada yada yada. So I think, yeah, there we go. Wildlife Exploitation Preserve, which almost sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? Exploitation Preserve, like the idea that you're trying to preserve and also exploit, is an interesting thought. It's an interesting concept. In this case, interesting is a euphemism for batshit crazy. I try to use interesting in a non. I try to make sure when I use it, it means I do find whatever is happening or whatever the situation is actually genuinely interesting, and not as a euphemism for those sorts of things. But just now I did, and I called myself out for it, because I need to make sure that I'm always saying what I mean, and I mean what I say. I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. An elephant's. I think it's an elephant's faithful or truthful. It's a Dr. Seuss thing. Herbert Here's a Who. That's always kind of trippy. Little Twilight Zone-ish type weird thing. Just we disappear in a big ball of explosion, and we are in a black void with 2 laser beams shooting down. Weird stuff. But you know what I think I'm going to do? This might be the last episode I do of do this as a standalone video. I might finish out the series, both Mario RPG and this one, as streams, because I'm essentially shooting it as a stream. It's being presented as a stream, or the production is there, but I don't have chat to interact with, so I'm coming up with stuff, which is, well and good, I suppose. But that's the downside to not playing, is you're not giving people a stream of consciousness, which I guess maybe in retrospect is more interesting. It's certainly more on point. Like when you're playing a game and you're talking, your tendency to go off on rants like I do is greatly diminished. because you're focusing on the game, and your commentary is usually going to be stream of consciousness as you're telling the audience what you're trying to do or explain this, what's going on in this particular part of the game. When you've done it the way I have, and it's literally just you're watching the gameplay, it does make it very difficult to stay on target, to stay focused in, because your mind's no longer on your task. Your task is now talking. And I think that's a little trickier than I'd like. But I don't mind the idea of like playing this, like, instead of trying to find like a video or something that, like, I feel bad trying to like if I'm doing live stream to put on, like, I'll be like, oh, check out this YouTube video while I'm making YouTube video. Like, I don't like using other people's content for mine, especially without their permission or without, letting them know. I mean, I can say, hey, go to this. Hey, this is the channel that this came from. And of course, I would never do something like if this was somebody else's footage, I would never do something like this. But I've seen stuff where people pull up other people's thing and they do reaction videos, which I understand that's covered, but I don't know. I've already had a little bit of an issue, the idea that I'm making videos that are dependent upon, or series that are dependent upon, other people's work. Like this. Like, without the gameplay, this is just me talking, which I know from other videos people aren't interested in. Nor should they be. I'm not interested in those very much. If there was just literally a talking head, very rarely do I find that engaging, entertaining. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I don't.
I bet your friend Claptrap could get through that Hyperion force field. Now he's out of date though.
Yet,
Software upgrade.
you can have people that go on tangents about
Camped out near the
something that they're upset about, or something, a trend in the gaming community, and they just have random footage of them playing a game. Whatever game the game has nothing to do with the conversation. It's just them they play video games, and so they're playing Call of Duty or Ratchet and Clank or whatever that thing is called, and that's it. And they're just talking over it, and those get a crap ton of views, and people watch that because they're watching, their attention's on the game. They're having fun watching the game and being like, oh, this is really cool, but they're also listening to what's being said, and on their own. Like, and I wouldn't say I've watched a ton of those, but I have found some of those to be entertaining. But each element on its own is not worth watching for me. Like, that person just talking about their issue, especially because clearly there's some channels where they don't want to be on camera, and that's fine. I have no problem with somebody saying, hey, it's just not my thing. Whether it's an insecurity, whether it's just I don't want people to see my face in general, whether it's I don't have a camera. There's any number of really good reasons for somebody not wanting to have their face in there, but you are missing out on some of the interaction and a lot of the nonverbals, people's expressions, and it's just more entertaining. It's a visual medium, and so you have no visual. That's So if it's literally just a voice talking, I don't think that. I mean, I guess it's a podcast. Like podcasts now. I feel like they include so much different media. Like, this could be a podcast in a manner of speaking. I probably would have to bring the volume on the game down a little bit more, but it's come to be just, if you're talking at all, it could be a podcast. You just have to kind of preface it that way. Although I'd say arguably, to me, the purest sense of it is somebody like all they're doing is talking, kind of like a DJ. Back in the day, you'd have radio personalities, shock jocks or what have you that would do that. And ideally, a lot of the times, like a Joe Rogan thing where he's interviewing people. Problem is, I don't like doing interviews over Discord. I'll do them, and I've done like video spotlights for Elder Scrolls Legends and games like that. It's just not as fun as being able to interact with the person and respond, go off of their nonverbals, and there's an interaction that you're really missing with the Discord. And then of course you have all your technological limitations. If theirs doesn't look good, you got to find a way to if you're going to do anything other than audio only for them, you've got to find a way to hopefully have their video quality be really good. You don't want to be doing like a Skype or something where and not everybody's going to have it set up where it looks or sounds great. And you don't want to limit, I mean, a lot of times subject matter experts are the people that are the most interesting to talk to about a particular topic. Their focus is on what they do for a living or on whatever it is. They're not going to be people who are particularly nitpicky about their sound. Like, as long as you can hear me, I don't care if it sounds hollow or echoey or whatever. Whereas me, I'm like, part of what I enjoy is making sure I get good audio and video when I can. Like right now, I'm like, I don't like the key on this. I'd rather not do it this way, but it is so much easier that I'm willing to take that hit. And I don't think people care anyway. I don't think anybody's watching this going, oh my gosh, I see a little bit of green around his shoulders. That's so tacky. You should be paying attention to the game. I'm just kind of here to provide a little something extra. Like I continue to put stuff on the walls, try to find things to put on the floor just to keep dampening the sound. Because I'm using a condenser mic, and condenser mics are highly sensitive. So they're great for capturing the things. They do the things. Capturing a lot more dynamic range, which is ironic because the other option is a dynamic microphone, which isn't as detailed. But it makes it more sensitive to everything else in the room. Like your ambient stuff. Whereas like the microphones you see that Joe Rogan uses, those are dynamic microphones. You have to be much, much closer on them. You have to be like right up on them. Ideally, you're very, very close. But they're not very sensitive. And like if I was going to do a live podcast, I would use those instead of this because this. I tried doing it with my friend Vincenzo on one of our. He just came to visit one day, and I had a shotgun mic for him. Well, yeah, I think that ended up being for him, and then I had this for me, and the audio sounded fine, but you were getting echoes because each mic was picking up the other one because we were next to each other, and both mics, even though the shotgun mic is, or the boom mic, my shotgun mic is directional, it was still pretty much, it was facing right at his mouth, but it was still picking up. It's a cardioid. So for those who don't know, cardioid it's like heart shaped. And so there's like a dead space right behind the microphone. So if the microphone's facing me like this, right back, like if this was a cardioid, and I think it might have a cardioid sound pattern. Like you would be able, if I turn this microphone around, you would be able to hear me a little bit from here. But this is not the sensor part of it. This is not the part of the microphone that you're really going to hear. So you would hear me, but it's mostly because it would be kind of coming around. But I think a cardioid pattern is where it goes in like this, and then it kind of comes out like a heart, and it goes like this. So this is the sweet spot, but you can also have some here. You have it like this way, and then you have some over here as well. It's about the same level. But then if you go around to the sides and the back, you're gonna lose some more of that. And it's a shotgun, at least the one I have, is a cardioid instead versus like Omni. Omni is typically your lavalier mics, and that's kind of just, it's like a circle around you. It's kind of all the way around. But it is proximal, so it's all around you. But unless that thing is all around you and very close, it's still not going to pick it up, or is less likely to pick it up. But a dynamic microphone is again less sensitive. You should be much closer to it. You should kind of be making out with the microphone, is how I think of it. Whereas this, I usually try to keep it about this far at least away, and I don't know. That's probably 6 inches. Heyo, 6, maybe a little bit more. But but like if you when you watch people like sing, they'll use, often you're seeing them with a condenser microphone because it does have much more range to it. But they're far back because they're belting it out and they don't want it close to hit and they don't want it to spike. So they'll move further away from it. But yeah, you don't typically. But then I mean, dynamic mics that if they hold them like this. That's when you see like the rappers and stuff, or a singer in a concert, and you see them, they're all up on the microphone, they're like making out with it. So in a recording studio where you can control like you have everything soundproofed and everything, and you're like in this booth or you're in this a studio environment, condenser mics are great for that. In an uncontrolled environment, when you have a lot of other noise coming in from everywhere, you want the mic to just be picking up the person who's singing right here. So that's when you see the microphone really close to their face. But most of the time, in studio recordings, it's going to be a condenser. But anyway, so in this room, ideally, I would be using a dynamic, just because it's not treated for sound, it's not treated for audio, but I have just continued to add things to the room. Just things in general will help. Bare walls, bare floors are horrible. This has carpet, which is good. It does have a bit of a vaulted ceiling. I want to say this is 9 feet, which is not good. And it has angles. It's weird. The walls go up, and then like half the room has like an angle over here where it does this, and then it goes up, and then the other side just goes all the way straight up. So it looks cool and from a design perspective, but as a as a place where you're shooting, you don't want vaulted ceilings.
Thanks for saving me the trouble, kiddo.
But I've put stuff on the walls and just filled the space. So there's much less. If the recordings I did initially, they had a lot more reverb and a lot more echoiness to them. This one still has some because it's not like what I used to shoot in. I call it my nostalgia nook, but it was a closet and it had clothes in it. And it's funny if you watch I didn't take pictures, unfortunately, but the evolution of it started off as it was a clothes closet. That was it. But then the job I had, they started asking me to do voiceover work for the videos that I was editing. So they would give me a script and I would do the voiceover and then I'd edit it in and do everything else that I was doing, but then I would also do voice stuff. And it can be kind of challenging because you want it to sound professional. So I would shoot I would do it in the closet. I'd just take my laptop in there and hook all the audio stuff up to it and do it that way. But it just got tiring, like having to set it up all the time. Or no, I think when I did it initially, I tried to do it outside. And I was using the shotgun mic. I didn't have this. Using the shotgun mic, and I had it boomed over my head. It was just kind of aimed down here, and so I could just at any point I could just swing the arm over, do this. But then if I'd pick up, if my neighbors had something going on, it would go through the walls. If there was anything happening in the house, and you hate losing a take because of ambient noise that you can't edit out. So I started just doing stuff in the closet, but then it just got a pain in the butt to keep setting up in there. So I was like, screw it, I'm gonna actually make it like a recording studio. And because the closet is small, it's a confined space, and it has all the clothes in there, it kind of insulated me really, especially when I closed the door. You couldn't hear anything in there. But then it slowly evolved to, and then I was like, okay, cool, but while I'm in here, I don't want to just be looking at a blank wall. Because where I sat, I had to clean. There was on both sides of the closet there weren't shelves, but it was like a shelf. It was about a foot and a half wide or so. That was about waist height, and so that's where I would set the laptop when I do the recording, and so I was reading the script and doing it that way. But I had to obviously clear out the clothes in order to make room for me to set all that up. So, but in front of me there was nothing there, and I'm like, you know what? It's not great to have all these clothes around and then have the space directly in front of me be just a wall that can reflect the sound back. So I was like, you know what? I don't know if this is true or not, but I decided to make it canon that video game boxes would dampen the sound. That I could, instead of having to buy like sound foam or whatever the sound panels, I could buy video game boxes, not just the video games, but the old school like Nintendo and Super Nintendo boxes, and use those as kind of a installation thing. And then they're fun to look at. It's like I started calling it a nostalgia nook. I'd get games, but back then I didn't know this. You can buy, if you go on Etsy, you can buy repro boxes, manuals, even games, and even game sleeves that some of them do crap out. Well, I'll put it this way: one of them, I bought one game that was a repro, and it crapped out. It would lock up. You'd go to a bonus level in Donkey Kong Country 2. In the first 5 minutes, it was like the very first level or the second level. You go to a bonus room. When you come out of the bonus room, the game crashes. So that was a horrible experience. Everything else has been running like a champ. It should. You just put the ROM on a circuit board and you throw it in a cartridge and you're good to go. But anyway, I didn't know about that at the time. So I thought the only way to get it, I had to go on eBay and find the original thing, which I would prefer anyway, but they're kind of pricey. So you're trying to find the best deal you can where it's the best looking box, and you want to get it complete. I'm not just going to spend $50 on a freaking box. So I'd spend $75 on a box with a game, but most of the time, if you're getting a box in good condition, you're paying a heck of a lot. And what really irked me about that is that I'm very much a person that if I own something, I want it to be in good condition. I want it to look nice. I want it to function right. That is a joy of mine, is to have stuff that looks new and keep things looking new. New car smell, I want to preserve that as long as I can. If I'm going to get something, if I'm going to buy something, especially if it's used, one of the criteria is I want it to look and function as if it's brand new, or as close to that as possible. So trying to find that balance of, okay, I'm going to pay more, obviously, to get a box. Oh, but the problem was, or the bummer, the frustration was, because of that, I kept all my Nintendo games and all my Super Nintendo games in pristine condition, and I kept all the manuals and I kept all the boxes. But when I went off to college, I pretty much it didn't make sense space-wise. Because, you know, I go to college, I take all the relevant stuff with me, but I can't bring all my stuff that I've accumulated in my 18 years with me. So some of that is staying at home. But that's not, I didn't think that was fair to my parents to have them, you know, kind of having to keep my stuff. And they didn't mind, but, you know, so I'd put it in the attic. But then you get the problem, of course, if you leave it in the attic for too long, as I did, as I found out, some plastic will melt, some things will have problems. So it's not a miracle cure. Boy, that's disgusting, isn't it? Just all that regurgitation. It's almost like you just finished eating a pineapple pizza. A pizza with pineapple on it, I should say. So yeah, my point being, ultimately, I got rid of everything for the most part. I kept the Super Nintendo manuals. I gave the Super Nintendo and all my games to my sister because she loved playing them. And, you know, I was moving on. You know, I got different systems. But I remember the Super Nintendo. I used them to store candy. I just thought they were so cool. I just thought the boxes were cool. So I tried to make use of them. So I bought Werther's Originals and would just stick them in the little tray. And so you'd open up the box, slide out the tray, grab a Werther's Original, put it back in. But I had all the boxes for all the games. Never got rid of a single one. Kept them in perfect condition, crisp corners. So when I go back on the secondhand market now, and I'm trying not only just trying to find one that has a box, but I'm finding that the ones with boxes in half the condition that I would keep my stuff in are going for ridiculous amounts. There were some times where the box itself cost more than the game. You could buy the game in great condition for $70, but box only was like 95 or 100 if it was a really nice box, or it was 150 for a nice game and a nice box. And I was like, dang it! If I just held on to that stuff, I would be in an amazing shape. It wasn't like I got the game and I just threw the box away. I thought the boxes were cool. I thought they were works of art. They were robust. They were sturdy. They weren't like, it wasn't like bubble packaging. You know, bubble packaging I can understand. You just get rid of because once you tear it off the cardboard, it doesn't. Neither one looks really good, so you just get rid of it. It doesn't make any sense to keep it. But for video games, especially Super Nintendo and Nintendo, those boxes were pretty nice, and you got the full artwork, and you wanted to have a place to put the manuals and stuff. So yeah, that was an abysmal thing, but I decided I was going to go that route, and at the time I was making decent enough money where I felt I could, I don't know about justify it, but I told myself, especially because I put like a very thin foam backing to the wall that was black, so that you weren't just seeing the wall between the games. I thought that looked kind of tacky. So I think between that and the boxes most of them didn't have the games in there initially, I thought that probably dampened the sound a little. I think it worked, at least in my head canon it did. It sounded better with those boxes on the wall than without, is my point. But then it just got, okay, I had 2 rows of, 4 games, I think? So 8. But then I was like, well, but there's these other games that I really like that I think it'd be awesome to have the box for. And, you know, there is this space right here. You know, it's like I have the row, and then but there's a row down here, and there's a row up here where I don't have stuff. I should probably get some of those too. So I started, you know, adding to the collection over time, and then I don't know, it just snowballed. It really did. Like, it became a delight of mine to find old, you know, old things, old games, old systems, and, you know, and fill the space with them. And so some of the later videos you can see, it's pretty full out with cool gaming stuff. But that closet was about 1/3, we'll say 1/4, a quarter the size. This isn't a big room. It's like 10 by 13, I think, or 9 by 13. It's not a huge room. It's not small. I'm not gonna say it's small. It's bigger than my childhood bedroom, but it's not huge. If this had to be a bedroom and I just call it my studio, then it would be really, really, really tight. No floor space, really. And I'd have to get rid of some stuff. But happily, I have both rooms, so a bedroom and then this one. And so yeah, but anyways, so trying to fill this space with essentially enough stuff that only fit something that was a quarter of this space, and that this needed it because it's not a closet. There's not a convenient place for me to hang a bunch of clothes to dampen the sound. So it's been a process. but a good one. I'll feel better when I'm gainfully employed again, and able to, you know, start making money. And I reached a point where I'm just like, okay, it's gonna have to be as good as it is. I can't justify putting more money into this, especially since this is not my job. If it was, then I envy to a degree. You see these some YouTubers where you see their first videos and they're very basic. You know, the walls are kind of bare. They're using a basic microphone, like a USB microphone that costs a fraction of what an actual microphone costs. But they get popular and they're able to grow the channel very well because it's not about the quality necessarily. You want the quality to be good, obviously, but if your content's good and people like what you have to say, it's not even so much that, like, they don't mind that the audio quality's not great. Like, you can go back and watch Monty Python sketches from the 70s, and the video quality is pretty rough, and the audio quality is okay, but you still enjoy it because the content itself is good. So you don't have to have those things to be successful. But so you see them do that, and then you see later on, like, gradually, you're like, wow, okay, their background's getting more elaborate. Oh, wow, they've got this cool thing now. Okay, now they've got a new microphone. That's a really nice microphone. And, okay, the camera's now shooting, 1920, and it's not, it's the frame rate's 60 frames or 30 and then 60. And you see that progression, they're just reinvesting the money into their job, into what they do. Whereas me, I'm just putting money into something that I don't like. This is a hobby, and while it's nice to have a hobby, it's just as nice, or more crucial, and not quite as nice, but just as crucial or more crucial to have something that you make money doing. And so there's a part of me going, okay, you could justify going further if this was an investment in your job and your career, but since it is not, you kind of need to back off because you need to save for the rainy days, as they say. But you see here, like when you're getting 2x, you can see, like I'm getting 2 experience points, 16 experience points for killing these big things. But we're level 27, they're level 21 or 20. That's what happens. That's what happens when you beat Captain Scarlet and her pirate's booty in the middle of your playthrough. You come out OP or overpowered, and it's gonna be. But I think, because I remember going through this and going, oh wow, it's gonna be a while before I have any kind of challenge against this thing because I'm just so amazing right now, which is kind of nice. It's in a game where sometimes you're having to scrap to stay alive. It's kind of nice to just breeze through it. But pretty much after this big boss fight we have coming up, I think the difficulty ramps very, very quickly. And I don't know if that's done in the game. Like, I don't know if the level we're going to go to next, when we're essentially raiding the bunker, trying to get to the bunker, I don't know if it's at the same level every time, or if the game goes, okay, he's at level 27, shouldn't be at that level until almost like right before you fight the warrior, so it's going to adjust accordingly and ramp up the leveling, or if it always jumps up to 25. But I'm pretty sure it's 25 or 27 that like the enemies we're gonna be facing very soon. They kind of take a pretty big leap. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong about a lot of things. Like, even in this playthrough, I've been wrong about a lot of this stuff. Yes, and those guns love you too, Gunzerker, because your name is Gunzerker. How can they not love a guy named Gunzerker? I remember, what was that? There was some anime that, I'm trying to remember now, but it was an anime where it was a sentient sword. Well, not a sentient sword. It was a sword that transformed into a young lady. There was a lot of complications with it. Not with like the production, but just like with that whole premise, because it was like she hated violence or something, or when you used it, she got, I don't know. I just remember she was a sword. You could use it as a sword, use her as a sword, but then she would transform into a girl, and that was something. I don't know. I was just wondering. I was thinking, I wonder if, in a crazy universe like this, where just crazy stuff happens, you have sentient guns, because we do have. There's the Bane is cursed, where it actually laughs. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. You don't know. I'm just going off on a tangent, but I was and then I was like, well, there's an anime where the
You found the slag samples?
it's based on the idea that you can have a sentient weapon.
Irrelevant thing you're doing right now.
So it's like, if you could have a sentient gun, would it care who you're shooting or how you're using it, or would it just be like, hey, as long as I'm shooting bullets, I feel great? Or would it be like, no, don't shoot that. That's not a good thing to shoot. Or I don't want to shoot that, but I can't help it because I'm just an inanimate object. But I have a sentience. Goodness knows all we need is for Disney to make a movie with an anthropomorphized gun, and suddenly everybody would be like, oh my gosh, no. Be nice to guns. They have feelings too. Ugh. That's the thing to watch out for, or to brace for. I'm trying to get myself in the mood. But there's going to be a video on why All Might is my favorite superhero ever, why Superman 2 is perhaps the worst superhero movie ever, and why Ariel is the worst Disney princess ever. All of which I think are chock full of controversy. That's not why controversy. That's not controversy. That is not why. I hate when I slur letters like that.
All the elements at our disposal. Fire, electricity, corrosion, slag. And god damn, I forgot the last one. What the hell was that again? God damn it! Just weaken her and I'll hit her with a drink.
But I'm not doing it because of the controversy. I'm doing it because it is, I don't think I've seen a lot of videos about those particular topics, or any of them, perhaps.
That's what matters here.
And so I think it's worth talking about. It's very, very rare that you find something that other people haven't talked to death. But I know for a fact, having made that my opinion about The Little Mermaid, because I remember there was some live action movie that came out. This is back in like 2010 or something. And it was like a live action fairy tale, and my friend had asked me to do a DVD review on it. You know, just like looking at the special features and just the whole point was to try to do a 500 word or less, or 500 word pretty much, kind of either breakdown of the movie or thoughts in passing. Like maybe trying to focusing on a certain aspect of it or something, because the idea is it's already been out, so you're not looking for a movie review. You want to know, are you going to get anything more out of the DVD? Is it worth buying, or can you get pretty much all you need out of the rental? Why would you want to buy versus rent in different cases? And then, and like I said, focus on something. An interesting aspect. Like No Country for Old Men, I focus on the fact that there's no music, that there's no soundtrack. It's done without it, and just how that impacts it, how they pull it off, things of that nature. And I did a review of this, whatever this thing was. I think it's Anna. Begins with a K, I think. I don't know. I can't remember, but I did a thing on it. I was just talking about. I spoke in not flattering terms about the Disney princess syndrome, essentially. And boy howdy, but the gentleman who asked me to do the article, his wife, who is a huge Little Mermaid fan, her and her friends, they did not take kindly to my perspective. I don't remember what they said. It would have been nice, because that is something, when you go into something where you're going to, like I said, make Superman 2, why I think it's one of the worst superhero movies ever. I knew this was headed in a bad direction. Anyhow, that was morbid. I apologize. Mea culpa. But you just understand, when there's something that's beloved by many, they don't want to hear that it's not good. And especially if it's not good, like the Superman and Little Mermaid, they're not good, not because they're not well made per se, or the quality is bad. I think the morality or ethics, or not messaging as in agenda, we need to teach a message, but what you're going to naturally get from those movies is really, really, really bad. Like really bad. Not horrible. We're not talking like dastardly evil, but just really unhealthy mentalities in that. But anyway, I'm looking to get myself to do, but yeah. So when you're doing stuff like that, you want to be as informed as you can about how other people view it, why they're okay with certain things that you think are atrocious, like why. What the ideal, like in the dream scenario, is that you point something out and somebody goes, "Hey, okay, yeah, I actually kind of see that's kind of messed up." Okay, I mean, I still like it, but yeah, that like I don't necessarily want people to say to dislike what I like or to stop watching something or stop being a fan of it. That's not the goal. The goal is just to connect and have people understand it. And if that understanding means they go, you know what, maybe I don't like it as much as I thought I did, because yeah, now that's kind of like really. That's where I'm at. Like, there's certain movies I can't watch now because I'm like, this is absolutely atrocious. Like Superman 2, I'll never watch it again. I'll have to go through it to get clips and clips out of it for what I want to talk about. But I really, after realizing what was going on, I'm like, whoa, this is not good. But Superman is less like overall, just like that. Like Little Mermaid Ariel, I think she is a horrible character in general. I think she's a really piss poor character. Superman is not a piss poor character, but the way they portrayed him in it and the things they have him do and the way the plot works out is, I just think it's really a bummer. And unlike modern superhero movies that are just bad in general, their superheroes are weak sauce, the effects are meh, and there's really nothing redemptive about them at all. There's nothing worth really watching. It's just kind of like, okay, well. There was that golden age. We had, excuse me. We had that brief time, about a decade. Although I mean that's not exactly brief. We had about a decade where there were some pretty entertaining superhero movies. You had your Captain Americas, your Iron Mans, and each one, of course, to varying levels of success or resonance. And I'm trying to think what were the other ones that came out. Guardians was a kind of a sleeper, and it was a completely different tone than the other ones. Didn't take itself as seriously. I mean, Thor was kind of rough. Thor 1 was okay. It was serviceable, but not. I don't know that many people thought it was great. Thor 2 was like, what the heck? Thor Ragnarok. I think as a one-off, it was definitely entertaining, but not without a lot of stuff that kind of made you go, eh. But it was largely enjoyable with some nauseating or just kind of like, oh gosh, okay, really, we're gonna do it this way, all right, fine. But it was like teetering on the brink, but there was enough kind of comedy. It was taking it the direction it took, the perspective it took, or the approach it took to the material, to the character of Thor. I think largely, it made him more human. It took what we saw in the Avengers movies, where he became a little less stilted, a little less thou mayest say I kind of thing, and made him more fleshed out and more contemporary, for lack of a better word. I think it took it about as far as you'd want to go with really any superhero character or any character. But it took it right up to the point where it was getting old. And then of course we saw, well, I didn't see it, but heard plenty of whatever the heck came out after the fourth Thor movie that wasn't. It didn't look like it was going to be worth watching. It's like it took Thor as a character to a certain place that you needed to walk back. It was like, okay, we went there, but we don't want to go any further down that path. If anything, we kind of want to keep in mind that we can have some levity. Chris Hemsworth has good comedic timing. He's a fun guy. He's a likable fellow. But let's not lean too heavily into the slapstick and the jokes and everything. Let's try to, if any character should be treated with a little more class or dignity, I think it would be Thor, just because of the nature of the character. Okay. Yeah, we got about 2 minutes left. I was just waiting for the screen to drop out. But anyway, so those are videos that are coming down. Hopefully, I got 15 minutes of video. That's probably at least 9 to 10 pages of written. Well, 8 to 10 pages of written script, and Then you gotta, because it's gonna be they'll be my first video essays, which, you know, there's no footage of me, and a lot of times I use that. It's not because I'm trying to get my face on there, but it's easier if the shot is just me talking. That's all I gotta work, and I don't have to find footage. I don't have to find visuals. But in this particular case, I don't have a setup right now with a, we call that teleprompter. So I would have to memorize all the lines, which that would be even longer. I'm trying to balance the end product, the quality of the end product, with the amount of time it's going to take to do it. And I think a video essay where it's just voiceover with visuals is going to be the best way to present my case and my particular perspective.
He owes me a favor, and he can help us get past the bunker outside Control Core Angel.
And I feel bad because I'd like to start, like, I'm going to enjoy the All Might one because that's me saying this is what I like and this is why I like it and why I think it's very good. I'm less stoked about doing things that I don't like, but I think they can be just as instructional. They're just not as, they can be fun in a manner of speaking, but you'd rather be putting out good. I'd rather champion good things than put down bad things, because if you focus on what's good, like some people are saying, oh, I watch these shows to learn what not to do. I'm like, you're much better off watching good shows that show you exactly what to do versus going, okay, I've watched this horrible show which has shown me a bunch of things I don't want to do, so now I have this giant empty space, or, you know, I now I have all these barriers of in this canvas. I now have a bunch of places that I don't want to go, and that leaves me with these places that I do want to go, instead of just going, hey, here's the exact path that I want to go on. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time.